Well, it's been another busy week here. Monday, I went to Penn because last Sunday was another national holiday, but it was observed on Monday, and it was the independence of Coquelin. So there was lots of parades. All the schools in the area, pretty much. Well, all those in Penn for sure, and some of the other ones that have like bands and stuff, like marching bands. They performed in the parade. There's also like people dressed in Tipica, and doing typical dances and whatnot. It was really cool. Also was able to get a lot of computer work done, and tried to go shopping for stuff for my community meeting next week. But all the stores were closed, and I didn't know it because it was considered the observance of this holiday, so everything was closed, including the post office, which I had been trying to go to for forever, as well as the encomienda office, which encomiendas, we can request more medical supplies from the encomienda office at the Peace Corps office, and they'll send it to our province. And so I had requested some more bug spray, and so yeah, I've tried several times to go and pick it up. It still hasn't happened. But I go again to Benonome on Wednesday for meeting some agency people, and I'm hopeful that I can try again. I've been to this encomienda office so many times. But yeah, so all the things were closed. So later on in the week, I decided to make a second trip to buy stuff for my meeting, because on Tuesday I got it officially approved for me to use the Casa Local for my meeting, and made a flyer, put it all around town, including all the like bus stops, all of the tiendas, and all of the chivas in town. So everybody should know about it. Plus every person I come in contact with, I talk to them about it and whatnot. So yeah, I had Griselda and Jessica help me with my flyer to make sure that like I wrote up the initial stuff, but had them like proofread it and make sure it made sense, and they corrected a couple of things, just some wording stuff, but luckily the school let me print out my stuff, which is very nice of them. So I went around town, posted it all around town. I asked every single person, hey, can I put this flyer here? And they're all like, what's it for? So then I started up a conversation. So it took me some time, but I got it all around town, and whatnot. So did that. Did not teach English this week because on Tuesday they didn't have school, because people were recovering from the holidays. And then Wednesday I went to school and they were like, oh no, we don't want it today, we've got other stuff on our plans. But they only had school 2 days this week because Monday was a holiday, Tuesday they were recovering from the holiday, and Friday was another holiday. So it's like here it's the month of celebrations, because there's just like all sorts of them and whatnot. And so yeah, but it's also towards the end of their school year, because school ends on the 15th of December, I think, and they could start going back to school in either late February or early March. I don't remember exactly which, but it's about to be summer here in Panama. Which is just like the weirdest thing, because like it's already hot here. Like, I mean, I'm still wearing shorts and t-shirts and you know, my chacos and stuff. But just like the thought of it getting hotter just baffles me, because like I think the lowest it's been since I was here is like 75 degrees, and that was on a day it was like raining, you know. And so the sun didn't come out at all. But so for me, it's just like, don't get me wrong though, I love it because I hate the cold. And like there are like other Peace Corps volunteers who are like, oh, I miss fall and the snow and the leaves changing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't miss it. I really like this whole, you know, I'm just chilling in shorts every day, and yeah, I like it. I'm a fan of it. And whatnot. I'm not a fan of the mosquitoes, hence the bug spray. But I feel like I'm getting less bitten. Like, they stopped biting me as much. I still have plenty of bites, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not bite free. I don't think I will ever be bite free in the next, you know, 2 years. But I definitely feel, you know, less bites. So, you know, that's good. Good win. I've been doing a lot of prep for my meeting this week, just because it's my first community meeting that I'm hosting. It's not my first one to go to, but it's my first one that I'm hosting. And I'm doing a lot of like the Peace Corps, it's called PACA, which is Participatory Analysis for Community Action. And it's basically Peace Corps' way of analyzing the community and helping me like steer the community towards whatever it is that they need. So there are many different things that are involved in this. Some of it's like interpersonal stuff where I can't do it on a large scale. For instance, you know, talking to individual households about their water consumption and their hygiene and sanitation practices. That's more of an individualized thing. That's why I'm going house to house and talking with people and whatnot. One, it's to get to know them, but two, it's also to talk with them about the water, sanitation, and hygiene of their community and of themselves in their house and where they are. Because, for instance, here in my host family's house, they are much better ahead of the curve as far as like wash practices go. They have indoor toilets. They properly maintain and store their water. They are very conscious about washing their hands before they eat, after they use the restroom, brushing their teeth, all of these things that are part of our analysis. Now there's some other community members, not so much, and whatnot, which is fine, because you need to know where you're starting with, so that whatever projects you institute, no, that's not really the word I want to use. Whatever projects you gosh, English is hard. I've spoken a lot of Spanish in the last few days. Actually just in general in life, but what's the word I want? Like, whenever I if I do any projects, it's not really all I want to say, but if I do any projects in the next 2 years to see, okay, were these projects effective, you need to know where you were before. So this is like my baseline data. It's the science part of it. This part I love. Actually, I love most of it. So, but yeah, so you need to know where you are to know that whatever projects you do in the next 2 years, to see, were they effective? Did they instill any behavior changes? Are the community members actually better off because of what you did? So that's one aspect of it, but that's an interpersonal thing. There are some things that is a community-wide thing that you can do. So for instance, a seasonal calendar. So knowing what are the seasons, and I use that term loosely because they call this winter, and then we're about to start summer. So when are the seasons? When are the holidays? When when does school go? When is school in session? When is, especially there's a lot of people who have their own, I wouldn't call them farms because they're not that large, but really large scale gardens. That's like in between a garden and a farm. And so knowing when those seasons are for the various plants, because there's tons of them. You got yucca, pineapple, oranges, lemons. I've heard rumor of avocado, but I haven't seen it yet, but I'm gonna be investigating. Because I love me some avocado. And, just like yucca, corn, all these things. And so all these things have different seasons. And the reason all of this is important is because you need to know when, if you're going to do a project or work days or whatever, when to do them. For instance, when I was planning my meeting, I was like, it's November, so there's a lot of holidays, so I gotta plan around the holidays. I gotta plan when the majority of my community is gonna be in the community, because a lot of my community members travel outside of the community for work, especially the men. And I want to be, what I'm doing, to be a representative sample of the community. It's more scientific talk for you. And whatnot. And so I had to talk with people and be like, okay, I know that we have holidays on these and these days, but here's a Sunday, which is when most of the people who work out of town are still in town, but in the afternoon, because they have church in the morning and things like that. So this is the best day, because then the following week was another holiday. So it's planning out things like that, so that you have the most people involved, or the people you want to be involved can be involved. For instance, if you're doing a thing with the school and you want to plan it in January, well, that's not going to be really effective, because in January they don't have school. And so it's knowing those things, that when you want to plan something, or you want to have a particular subset of people, because not every single person is going to be doing XYZ thing, but knowing based on this the seasonal calendar of your community when you can host things, or when it's going to be the most effective for a particular group you're trying to work with. For instance, if you're trying to work with women, probably during the summer when they're watching their kids all the time, it's probably not the best thing. But during the day, in the morning, while their kids are at school and they're less busy, maybe a good time. Just depends on what you're trying to do. And so that's an important thing. And so there's various different things like that. Not all of them are interpersonal, or some of them need to be done in a group like that. So I'm hosting a meeting for that. We're also going to discuss projects, because I've talked with both aqueducts, met with them, seen both aqueduct systems, so kind of know a little bit more. I'm also going to this agency day where I can talk with some of the government officials about some of the projects my community wants to start and how they can help us with that. So yeah, just kind of seeing what we can do there. So there's that, but there's also some other smaller projects that they when you get your community, there's this list they give you of things that they've listed off of things they want. So I kind of want to go through those and determine for them, or have them determine, really, because it's more of a voting system, of which are, because I can't do all of it, because it was a front back sheet and not all of it was wash related. So determining which of those is the most important to them. So I would say, maybe determining the top 10 of those, and then working through those over the next few years, just so that it gives us more direction of, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that, of, sitting here and determining, okay, what's the most important to the community, because it doesn't matter what I want, it matters what the community wants. because in the end, this is their community. I'm here for a time, they're here for life, if they so choose. So it's important that they decide what they want. It's not up for me to decide. There are things that I can kind of steer them towards, like, this may be a better idea versus that, or helping them along the process. I'm more of a facilitator. I am not the person who's going to come in, do all this stuff. As I was explaining to someone yesterday, I cannot build a road. I can also not build a park because, once again, I'm here to do a specific job. I would be more than happy to help with those sorts of projects should they come to the community, but I cannot do everything and whatnot. There are limitations to what I can do and offer for the community, and it's more about the community being able, me facilitating, okay, here's some things that y'all want, which is most important to you, and then going and ranking a priority, what can we feasibly do? Because there are some things, like me building a road, that's not a feasible thing. Or me putting in more cell towers, not a feasible thing. So, there are things that I can and can't do. And I have to let people know right off, okay, some of these projects, not possible. And whatnot. But yeah. So, that's really what my meeting's mainly about. Talk about projects and do some of my Peace Corps analysis stuff, and yeah, I'm hoping to have some pretty good turnout because I'd like for a good decent chunk to show up so that I get a good representative thing. Plus, it'd be really nice if I had a nice portion of my community show up. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of prep for that. Actually went yesterday and bought a lot of stuff for said meeting and whatnot. And yeah, what else have I done this week? My life is mainly revolved around that. I did go have lunch with one of the community members this week. He invited me over. He and his family invited me over for lunch. It's really funny. They pulled out this atlas of is like the U.S. and Central America. And he's pointing out places that he knows in America and asking me if I'd been there, and then also asking me to point out where I'm from in America, and then talking to me about the size of the U.S. versus the size of Panama. And Panama only has 3 million people, or they have more than 3 million. Supposedly they're getting closer to 4. I don't know what the most recent census data is. And they also are about the size, I want to say they're the same size as South Carolina is what I read somewhere. I don't know. But they're it's a small country. And whatnot. And so, it's really funny for Panamanians, or it's always funny for me when Panamanians have that realization, because someone they asked me how many states the U.S. has, and I was like, 50 states and some territories, but I don't remember how many territories we have. And they were 50, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm just trying to explain the size. I guess it just never really occurred to them how large the U.S. is, because I explained that they're oh, you must be close to Miami. I'm like, no, Birmingham to Miami is I want to say 12-hour car ride. And whenever they're like, wow, that's really far, but the state's right next to you. I was like, yeah, but each state is really large. To go across Texas takes you, 2 days or something. States are not the same size as provinces here. In the Cocle province, I believe there's approximately 40,000 people. Just in this province that I live in. There's only 40,000 people. There are cities in the U.S. that have way more people. And if you're wondering why it's so small, when there are like 3+ million, because the majority of the country is populated in Panama City and Panama the province. That's where the majority of the people, I want to say something like 2 million people actually live in the province of Panama and Panama Oeste. And then like the remaining live in the other provinces, like so. And it may even be more than 2 million that live there, and whatnot. So there's like only 40,000 people who live in this province. So you know, it's kind of a very, it's like comparing apples and oranges when it comes to the size of our countries. Panama, really small. America, really big. Like, Alabama is larger than Panama. And whatnot. So, you know, that's just, and it's really funny when Panamanians have that, like, realization about, like, how large it is. Because, I mean, you can reasonably cross this whole country in probably, like, I'd say 2 days. You know, from Bocas all the way to the, you know, end of Darien, and whatnot. And so, you know, you can't do that in the U.S. And really, the reason it takes so long is because of how bad the roads are, and the fact that there's only one road that goes through the entire country, and whatnot. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, so it's really funny when people talk to me about the size of the U.S. and everything. And yeah, so they had an atlas and like were showing me a bunch of stuff and asking me a bunch of questions, and yeah, it was really funny. And just talking with them. I had visited them before, but they invited me specifically for lunch on Friday. Yeah. And I'm trying to what I did on Thursday. I don't think I left the house on Thursday because I was doing a bunch of work here / enjoying kind of a tranquilo day. Just because sometimes you just need to take a moment, relax, and whatnot. Yeah, so pretty busy in some respects week, because like I said, getting ready for my meeting. That's really what a lot of this upcoming week is focused on, is getting prepped and ready for my meeting and getting everything together. I have this agency day on Wednesday where we're going to meet with some MINSA, which is the Ministry of Health, and Mi Ambiente, which is the Ministry of Environment, on Wednesday. And we're going to meet with some officials from there and talk about some of our projects. And yeah, so we're doing that Wednesday morning. And then in the afternoon I'm buying some last minute stuff because I forgot a couple of things. Because I said we were going to have some juice and I forgot to buy cups. I remembered to buy the stuff to make it, but I did not buy cups. So that's an important thing. And just like a couple of the last minute things. Gonna try and pick up that encomienda too. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, just in general, doing a lot of prep for my meeting. Also, today marks 4 months I've been in Panama. And I'm about 10 days from being in sight for 2 months. And I'm a month away from my 3-month visit, which will require another community meeting where I have to present all of my analysis stuff, and my boss is coming from the capital for that. So, like I said, it's really important that I get all this analysis stuff done before she gets here so that I can do that presentation and whatnot. So, just working hard on that. That's like, I'm starting to get into like the more Peace Corps work stuff. Now that like my community knows me, I know more of them, I recognize them, not always by name, but definitely by face, and I'm starting to put together who is related to whom, and yeah, just getting all of that together. And and just starting to get into more of a groove rhythm. Next holiday is supposed to be 28th. That's the Independence Day from Spain. And I've been invited to go to something for that. Still not really sure what I've ever been invited to, but you know, I'll find out closer to time. But yeah, hope life for you as well, wherever it is that you are residing. And next week you'll get to hear how my community meeting went, because it's next Sunday at 3 p.m. So there's that. It should be a fun experience because I will have to give everything in Spanish. I've written everything out in English, and I'm working on translating everything into Spanish, because for me it's easier for me to like write everything in English so that I know what it is I want to say, and then translate it, and then of course I'm going to have somebody look over it to make sure it looks alright, before I just get up and say the things in front of, you know, my entire community. Yeah, so hope y'all have a nice, lovely week, and hasta luego.